since he doesn't mind going to jail for his kid. Like, she thrives on that type of drama. She liked that Ken was ready to fight, and it's gonna be her and him. Then she goes,
I'm Switzerland. You know, because Bella says she's Switzerland between Edward and Jacob in Twilight. Because even though I'm 34 years old, I still think that everything should be like we're 16 and in high school.
this fucking fantasy land she lives in.
Bella with Edward and Jacob.
Like, what? Get out of La La Land, bitch. This is reality.
The latest drama surrounding Gypsy, Rose Blanchard and Ken Urker has officially taken a sharp turn, and this time, there's no looking back. After months of subtle tension, cryptic posts, and an ever-growing connection between Gypsy and her ex-husband Ryan Anderson, insiders say Ken is done for good, not just emotionally, but completely stepping away from the situation. What once looked like a picture-perfect redemption love story is now unraveling in real time, and Ken is making sure the world knows he's no longer part of the illusion. From the beginning, there were signs that something in Gypsy and Ken's relationship wasn't quite right. Even when they flooded their social media with romantic selfies, hand-holding videos, and cute captions, there was an undeniable disconnect behind those smiles. Friends close to the couple noticed how curated everything felt, like their relationship existed more for the internet than for each other. Behind the filtered love story was a couple constantly battling to prove themselves. They were going to therapy almost from the start, defending themselves against critics and comments, and trying to maintain the happy couple-y narrative while their foundation cracked in private. And then came the real breaking point, the re-emergence of Ryan Anderson. It started as whispers, a few comments online suggesting Gypsy might be in contact with Ryan again. At first, it was easy to ignore. After all, people love drama, and her past with Ryan had already played out very publicly. But those whispers quickly got louder. Fans began noticing clues, similarities in backgrounds, oddly timed posts, and vague captions. Eventually, the truth surfaced. Not only was Gypsy still texting Ryan, she had started posting photos with him, sharing public updates that made it very clear he was back in the picture. And this wasn't just casual communication. There was emotional weight behind it, and Ken felt it deeply. Gypsy, as usual, tried to minimize it all. She made it seem harmless, acting like it was no big deal. But for Ken, this was the final betrayal. He began pulling away quietly, avoiding public appearances, distancing himself from Gypsy online, and refusing to speak on their status. While she scrambled to maintain the illusion, he had already emotionally checked out. Then came her now infamous 30-day social media detox announcement. On the surface, it looked like a move to focus on herself, maybe for mental health or privacy. But insiders claim it had nothing to do with peace of mind. It was a cover-up. Ken had already stopped being present in her life, and she didn't want the public to catch on too quickly. She was trying to buy time, hoping to figure out her next move without having to answer uncomfortable questions from fans and followers. Despite all this, Gypsy kept up the act. She posted a throwback photo of her and Ken holding hands, captioned with a sappy quote about eternal love and unbreakable bonds. It came off as a desperate attempt to regain control of the narrative, but Ken wasn't playing along. Instead of clapping back or issuing a public statement, he let one powerful post speak for itself. He shared a video clip about how exhausting it is to deal with people who distort reality, refuse to take responsibility, and constantly flip the script to make themselves look like the victim. His caption hit like a punch. "I used to have this mental illness where I thought logical arguments could change someone's mind." The hashtags he added, #dating, #women, #relationship, made it clear he wasn't just talking in general terms. It was personal. Deeply personal. And even though he never mentioned Gypsy by name, absolutely no one needed the confirmation.
That I bring a certain level of drama to his life that I don't mean to bring. It's like my baggage. He could leave me right now, and it's completely out of my control. And that's scary. It was scary back then, and it's still scary now. But he has my heart, and I can't control that.
What? Get out of La La Land, bitch. This is reality.
The shade was undeniable, and the meaning was crystal clear to anyone who'd been following their story. But what really ended it for Ken was the ultimate betrayal, one that involved their daughter, baby Aurora. In a move that shocked even those closest to her, Gypsy told Ken she wanted to take Aurora to meet Ryan. Yes, that Ryan, the same ex she had accused of being controlling, the same man she had cried about, ranted about, and claimed to be completely done with. According to sources, Ryan had been upset that he wasn't present for Aurora's first paternity test and wanted a redo, one he could witness in person, and instead of drawing a line, Gypsy agreed. That was the moment Ken snapped. He wasn't angry, he was devastated. And more than anything, he felt betrayed. He told Gypsy flat out, if she went through with it, if she brought their daughter anywhere near Ryan, he would be done forever. No more back and forth. No more couples therapy. He would leave Missouri, move back to Texas, and file for full custody of Aurora. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment reaction. It was a clear, final boundary. He wasn't pleading for change anymore, he was drawing the line in permanent ink. What's even more unbelievable is that Gypsy didn't stop. Despite Ken's warnings, despite everything they'd been through, she kept communicating with Ryan. She sent him selfies. Not just of herself, but of her and Aurora. Personal photos. Private moments, shared directly with her ex. And she did it like it was the most natural thing in the world. No hesitation, no concern. As if she was just updating an old boyfriend on how things were going with their family. For Ken, that was it. The damage was done. And this time, he wasn't sticking around to pick up the pieces. He's finished trying to fix a relationship that has been slowly falling apart since day one. Friends say he's already making plans to move, to shift focus, and to create a life for himself and his daughter, one that's free from the emotional chaos Gypsy keeps pulling him into. There was no remorse in Gypsy's actions. No hesitation, no subtle signs of guilt. Not even a flicker of concern about how it might affect Ken, as if he had become completely invisible in her world. That was the moment something in Ken shifted, something real and irreversible. He didn't just feel hurt, he felt erased. And that pain, that silent betrayal, became the final crack in an already fragile foundation. Ken started retreating, not with loud arguments or dramatic exits, but in the quietest and most noticeable way. Emotionally, he was done, and before long, that emotional distance turned into a physical absence from her online life. No more matching couple photos, no more sweet captions or family updates. He simply vanished from her posts. Where he once stood proudly beside her, now there was a digital void. And that silence? It spoke volumes. Instead of clapping back or airing out private details, Ken began posting subtle yet telling quotes and videos, messages that resonated with people who knew what emotional exhaustion looked like. He wasn't trying to be vague, he was being real. The words were raw, unfiltered, and painfully honest. You could feel the weight behind them. These weren't just cryptic breakup quotes, they were reflections of someone who had been pushed past their limit. For Ken, this wasn't just disappointment.
So I thought that logical arguments would change someone's mind. Yeah, I really thought if I laid out the facts calmly, clearly, they'd just go, oh wow, you're right. I've completely reevaluated my entire belief system. Thank you, mighty king. No, instead they double down and bring up a Facebook article from 2014 written by someone named Patriot Mama 87. I've learned that some people will just argue with you no matter what, like they're getting paid per brain cell they ignore. You can't hit people with scientific data, 5 peer-reviewed studies, proven evidence, and they'll still say, well, I just feel like, oh, okay, we're going off feelings now. Well, I feel like you're wasting my time. My favorite is when they say something like, agree to disagree. There's no disagreeing about gravity. You're just wrong, and that's okay, it happens. So now I just sip my drink and say true, no matter what they say. Aliens are in Congress? True. The earth is shaped like a Dorito? So true. Trying to talk sense into some people is like trying to reboot a toaster with a software update. It's not equipped for that. It's not happening.
It was the sting of humiliation. After everything he had done, defending Gypsy when public opinion was against her, staying by her side during the scrutiny, and building a life under constant judgment, this was how he was repaid. Gypsy hadn't just drifted emotionally. She had rerouted her attention, her energy, her affection, all towards someone else. And not just anyone, her ex. It was betrayal, but it was also eye-opening. Ken began re-examining everything. The whole relationship, all those public moments that looked picture perfect, started to feel fake in hindsight. Even the baby shower, the smiles, the posed photos, now it all looked like a performance. People had sensed it back then too. There were already whispers online, fans pointing out how the couple seemed off. The chemistry didn't feel real, the connection looked forced. And those rumors about a quiet breakup? They didn't come out of nowhere. Instead of addressing the tension head-on, Ken and Gypsy did what so many public couples do, they tried to patch it with pretty posts. Matching outfits, filtered smiles, and captions designed to convince everyone, maybe even themselves, that things were okay. But when you looked closely, something always felt wrong. There was no warmth in their eyes. No spark. Just a carefully curated illusion. The truth is, Ken didn't stay for love. Not the romantic kind, anyway. He stayed for Aurora, their daughter. She became the reason he kept showing up, the reason he kept holding on. Not because their relationship had depth or future, but because he refused to be a distant, absent father. Gypsy had made it clear from the start, she wanted a baby. That was always her focus. And when Aurora came into their lives, Gypsy fully embraced motherhood. But that alone wasn't enough to save their bond. In fact, it revealed how shaky things had been all along. Ken wasn't some Instagram dad popping in for photo ops. He became a hands-on father, doing the work, being present, even as his relationship with Gypsy unraveled. But what they had was never rooted in true emotional connection. There was no alignment in values or vision. They weren't growing together, they were simply stuck in the same space, sharing responsibilities, but not a real partnership. What held them together wasn't passion. It was obligation. The love had faded, if it was ever really there to begin with. Ken finally accepted that he was the only one fighting to hold it all together. He realized that every conversation meant to bring clarity only led to more confusion. Every time he tried to express himself, the script flipped. Somehow, he ended up being the villain. That became the cycle: miscommunication, gaslighting, and emotional burnout. The frustration wasn't just about being ignored, it was about being twisted into the problem. He reached a breaking point, not with shouting or drama, but with clarity. The kind of clarity that only comes when you've been drained for too long. Ken understood that Gypsy wasn't going to change. She didn't own her actions unless it protected her image. She didn't say sorry unless it benefited her. She didn't reflect, she deflected. And you can't build anything lasting with someone who avoids accountability at all costs. That's when Ken stopped waiting. Stopped hoping. He let go of the fantasy that maybe, with time, things would get better. He stopped believing that more patience, more understanding, or more love would fix what was fundamentally broken. He reached a place of emotional acceptance. Not anger. Not revenge. Just clarity. He's no longer looking for explanations or apologies. He's not clinging to the past or trying to rewrite the story. He's choosing peace, and that's the loudest thing he's said yet. Ken had already started the process of letting go, not just emotionally, but deep within his spirit. His heart, his energy, his patience, they were all slowly packing up and heading out. Maybe even physically, too. And maybe, just maybe, he was finally admitting to himself something he had tried to ignore for too long. Gypsy never truly left him in a way that was kind, or respectful, or real. She didn't break things off with care. She didn't bow out with honesty. She walked away emotionally long before anything was said out loud, and not once did she look back in a way that honored what they had. It's wild when you think about the drama she caused over something as harmless as an old hairbrush. Just a leftover item from Ken's past, something he probably hadn't seen in years until it turned up during a move. It wasn't hidden or treasured, just there, mixed in with junk in a box. But to Gypsy, that brush was a loaded weapon. She latched onto it and spun a narrative that Ken must still be holding onto his ex, not just in memory, but in feeling. She broke down over it, accused him of being emotionally unavailable, of being dishonest. All over a piece of plastic with bristles. And how did Ken respond? He didn't shout, he didn't snap. He didn't bring up receipts or throw her past in her face. Instead, he tried to be the bigger person. He listened. He reassured. He chose calm over chaos. He let it go to keep the peace. He even took her pain seriously, even when he knew it was being projected. But that wasn't enough for her. It never was. She kept pushing the issue, making him feel like he was guilty of something he hadn't even done.
Gypsy Rose is playing Ken and Ryan like it's a game of chess, and she's always 3 moves ahead. Okay, so nobody's saying this out loud, but I will. Gypsy Rose is playing Ken and Ryan against each other, and neither one of them see it. 1 minute, she's loving on Ken and posting TikToks of Ken. And the next minute, she's all up in Ryan's text messages, talking about how Ryan is her comfort. But here's the kicker. Every time she wants something from one of them, she uses the other to get it. Look what you're missing. He treats me better. It's giving emotional chess with 2 human pawns. And before anybody says maybe she's just confused, let's remember, this is the same woman who manipulated doctors, Nicholas Godejohn, and the entire world into believing she was some sick victim for years. Control and emotional leverage were literally her weapons. So now she's just using the same tactics, but this time it's for attention, it's for love, and let's be real, it's for clout. Gypsy Rose knows exactly what she's doing, guys. She keeps Ken close enough to feel needed, and Ryan just far enough to feel guilty.
Now, look where they are. The irony couldn't be sharper. Gypsy is the one clinging to a past flame, not through some forgotten object, but through her actual ex. She's the one sending texts, maintaining emotional ties, snapping selfies and dropping check-ins like she's still caught up in a relationship she won't admit she's still in. She did everything she once condemned Ken for. Except she took it even further, and when her choices started catching up to her, she vanished. She went quiet. She played the part of the heartbroken girl online, posting moody quotes about pain and healing, making herself look like the one who'd been wronged. It's all part of the act, tears and disappearing acts, hoping the silence will make people forget. But people haven't forgotten. They're finally seeing the pattern. Because let's be honest, if it had been Ken caught sending flirty messages to an ex, Gypsy would have exploded. There'd be TikToks full of shade, cryptic captions, a dramatic storytime live, and endless dragging. She would have built a whole online campaign to make sure everyone saw him as the bad guy. But now that she's the one who's been caught crossing boundaries, she expects peace, understanding, and quiet. The double standard is glaring and exhausting. Ken's done pretending. He's done playing the loyal partner while she rewrites the script to make herself look like a victim. He's tired of being the one who keeps the relationship afloat while she plays both sides. And this time, people are paying attention. The mask is slipping, and the truth is loud. Now that Gypsy's parole is ending soon, Ken has a real chance to walk away. No more waiting. No more excuses. He could take their daughter and build something better, something stable, grounded, and peaceful. But the question is, will he? Because there's still one more trick Gypsy might pull. If she senses him slipping away for good, she might try to use their daughter as leverage, emotionally manipulating him into staying, guilt-tripping him into believing she's the only way he can be a good father. It's a move she's used before, twisting the narrative until it suits her, like she did with Ree. We've seen her switch up. We've seen the way she rewrites stories when the heat's on her. The only thing left to see now is whether she'll do it again, or if this time, Ken will finally choose freedom over the endless emotional loop. And there you have it, the messy, tangled truth behind Ken and Gypsy's emotional fallout. From old hairbrush drama to hidden texts with an ex, the double standards couldn't be more obvious, and the heartbreak? It's real. Ken's silence isn't weakness, it's a final stand, and Gypsy's vanishing act isn't fooling anyone this time. But what do you think? Is Ken finally done for good, or will Gypsy pull him back in with one last plot twist? Will their daughter be the piece between them, or just another pawn in Gypsy's game? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I know y'all have opinions on this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss the next tea drop, because in this story, the drama is far from over.